살 나온 거. 다른 애들 다 기다리고 지금 올라온다고 그런가?
밥도 다 못 먹고 왔어.
누나한테 나랑 배드민턴도 같이 했어. 나보다 동생이야. 근데 얘 자꾸 나보고 야라고. 원래 다른 친구들한테는 막 언니들 이러면서 나보고 야라고 그래. 야야야.
아니.
벌써 소드로 잘랐어 미팅.
이승원 애들 다 왔네? 어디 앉아?
여기는 왜 콩미션 안 나왔고?
기사 하나 더 가지고.
레코멘데이션 안 써있는데.
아니?
아니, 아이고, classifies what?
왜 커맨드? 나 수업밖에 안 가고. 아니 이거
아니, like anything personal is only this. Nothing else is personal.
그냥 약간
Deep council meeting things.
설명드리는
언제냐? 맞아, 왜 뒤야? 너무 무슨 머리인데? 너 무슨 머리야? 뭐?
깜짝이야. 누가 계속 이렇게 막 잡지 않는데 저녁 먹었어? 아 먹다가 뛰쳐났을 거야. 너 왜 사과드려?
아니 근데 원래 얘는
컴퓨터 좀 해줬네. 필수가 되는 거 아니야? 필수 쪽지가 아닐까?
아 여기 앉아 여기 앉아.
완전 나 의자가 어디서 뭔지
얘 달리기 하고 그냥
야, 피직스 생각이 아무도 안 하는
너
게
이거
많냐?
어디까지 했어?
이게 바이브야?
근데 시연이 안 돼. 시연이 부모님.
그 들어가면서 이제 그랍도 있고
Hello everyone, welcome. We will start the presentation in about 4 minutes, so please, I ask your patience as we wait about 4 minutes for the presentation.
네, 오랜만에.
근데 이게 막 4명이서 2대1 한 다음에 1대1 하면
근데 얘 내가 같이 치자니까 못 갔어.
아니 할 수 있어요.
갔는데
근데
지금
코치가 마지막에 나 다른 거 누가 있어 불러.
작년에 퇴장시켜서 아 아이씨가 그 뭐예요? 근데 너는 꼴기 좋아요? 왜냐면 선생님이 얘 불러가서 따로 했어. 얘 겁나 잘해.
I just wanted to stop there.
근데 얘 잘해.
아 진짜 유형이랑
유행이
I mean, I did well in second core. But the third core was kind of tough.
조이는 잘하고.
Did you play basketball last season?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm an athlete.
아니 근데 원래 있던 사람들 비하면 물론 그렇겠지만
휴면 빼고 다.
아니 근데 말도 아니죠. 바이
I got 4 on one
Thank you.
아 나도 그래.
Oh really? 어떻게?
아
근데 the first one was
야 수업 시간에 나 시간에 이러고 있어.
수업 시간에 자고 공부하는 거 많으면 가만히 서 있어요.
그래서 이거.
시간
근데 actually camp
아니 이번 거는 나쁘지 않아.
리뷰 파티 줬는데 우리 안 봤어.
쟤도 예원수한테 피게 보는 건데 안 보냈다.
우리 리뷰 파티
아 그래. 무슨 발표?
리뷰 파티
For
camp.
No, we didn't get it.
No.
나 혼자 보는
extra.
손을 왜 저래 진짜.
왜 그러는 거야?
나도 나 포토는
어 뭐야? 너도 배드민턴 쳤어?
아니 테니스.
아.
This is like a.
아니 나 다시
우리 왜 피곤할 때 테니스.
You're 23?
너 뭐야?
At 15.
와, 많이
나 지금 거의 밤 새야 돼.
나도 하려고 그랬는데 갑자기 배는 거 있어야 돼.
아, 알파벳.
아, 알파벳.
근데 너 시험 안 줘.
그 다음 Y. Y is like.
It is 23. 23, right?
뭐,
Meeting day.
그 네임 모르면은 I should be the first. I'm like the second top.
뭐 배웠어? 우리 지금
C,
여기
C.
떠있지
My name starts, my surname starts with C.
No, but
네가 나보다
no, 이시잖아, 이시. You Y.
No, they go by first name always.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience as we wait for others to join us. I would like to start this presentation right now because I know have a very busy schedule. And so my name is Minsu Cho. I'm the DP coordinator here at Daejeon Christian International School. The presentation will be held in English, but if you look at the table, if you feel more comfortable in Korean, you can scan the QR code on the table and you can follow along the Korean translation of this presentation. So you can also follow along that way. If you have any last minute questions at the end, I am fluent in Korean, and so you can ask me in Korean and I can translate and also answer anything that you may want to ask about the DP. So without further ado, I shall get started. So this is the QR code. Today we have a few agenda items here, and I'm not going to go over every single thing, but essentially all this information is for you to understand how the DP recommendation process works and what the DP is as an academic program, along with what subjects are offered here at TCIS. And towards the end, there is a counseling focus where our counselors will be kind of going over what their role is in this whole process. And again, all of this is really to ensure that your grade 10s have a smooth transition next year. So this is the DP registration team. There is the 4 of us here. Sorry, I can count. And so I will start with myself. Again, like I said, my name is Minsu Cho. I'm the DP coordinator here at TCIS. This is my second year. Fun fact, I am actually a graduate. I don't know if any of you knew that. I graduated back in 2009 when we were at a different campus at Ojangdong. And so I'm back at my alma mater, and now I'm happy to serve our grade 10s along with grade 11s and 12s. And now I'll pass it over to the rest of the counseling team, or sorry, I'm an honorary counseling member. But I'll start with Ms. Roya. Yes. You want to come on up? Yeah.
Good evening, I'm Ms. Roya. I'm the head of counseling department, and I'm one of 2 college counselors. So I help your students when they're trying to navigate the life's journey of where they want to go, what they want to study. I also do social, emotional, and academic, so we are a comprehensive model, but the primary focus tonight for the DP course registration is, of course, talking about college and career readiness. Nice to meet you all.
Hello everyone, I'm the other half of Miss Roya. I'm Jack Lopez. As a DP counselor, I'm her other half. And I'm the counselor for students whose last names are A to K. And I've been a college counselor and a guidance counselor for more than a decade now. Yes, now I'll pass it on to Ms. Kyung.
안녕하세요. Hi, my name is Kyung-Ari. I'm the grade 9 and 10 counselor, so I'm currently working with your students. And then my role here as the DP transition, I'm gonna, helping them through whole of this process and then handing them safely to this DP counselor and DP coordinator. The fun fact for me today is my birthday.
And these are some important documents that you may want to hold on to that kind of outlines the whole process, along with some of our school profile and the DP course selection timeline. And so those are some important information, again, that will be helpful to you as we continue this semester, because this semester too is going to be pretty busy for your grade 10s, not just in terms of their workload and their classes, but also preparing for the DP next year. So those are some relevant things. And again, the DP recommendations for each student will be handed out to you after this presentation. And so you will be given that, and then you are welcome to leave as you take that. And again, please, I encourage you to have a conversation with your child about those courses. There are a couple of you that are new to our school, again, very new, so you do not have recommendations at this time. However, we are very much aware that you are new and that we don't have a lot of data yet to determine those courses. And so in April, we will reach out to you and share your recommendations afterwards. So that is also coming in the near future. Okay, we're very excited and proud to say that TCI students, on average, has consistently scored well above the world average. We have started the DP as an academic program, I believe, since 2006, I believe. Mr. Young, right? And so we have, again, been consistently doing well, at least recently as well. And the most recent year, the class of 2023, earned 35 marks, which is, again, 5 marks above the world average. And so we've also had 45s in the last 5 years as well, so, and multiple 45s, that's the full score. And so again, we do very well, and so we have a program that we're proud to say is very efficient and well-functioning. So the IB-DP classes are generally in 2 different categories. We call them HLs, or higher levels, and SLs, or standard levels. So HLs, you will realize, as we wrote here, is considered as a more advanced university level course that you will experience when you, again, go to university. And standard level is more of an introductory level kind of difficulty. And so, again, we will go over specifically the number of HLs and SLs that you will need to be considered as a full DP student as we name that TCIS. So the DP subjects come in 6 different groups. And again, I will be explaining to you that, again, you don't have to take, in certain cases, every single group subject, and I will go over that with you later. But in total, we have 6 group subjects. The first one is called the language and literature, and that is generally depending on your fluency as well as whether your mother tongue is whatever language. Currently, we have 2 subjects in group 1, and again, we'll go over that later, but it's Korean and English. And then group 2, we have language acquisition, where we got Spanish and Mandarin. And then group 3, individuals and societies, we have 3 subjects provided there. Group 4, sciences, that includes natural science and also computer science and design technology. And then group 5 are mathematics, which is perhaps the easiest. I guess we have 2 different courses. And then the arts, where we have visual arts and music. And so those are what we kind of name them when we say group subjects, group 1 to 6. So an IB full diploma is one option that your child can choose, which is essentially taking 6 DP courses, but 3 higher levels and 3 standard levels. With the full diploma, you are also required to complete the extended essay, which is kind of an additional thing on top of the 6 courses that you will take. The other 2 extended, CAS, Creativity, Activity, and Service, and Theory of Knowledge, TOK, are also part of the requirement, but again, that's the same for other types of candidates, but the extended essay is really only for the full DP students. So that is one option that your child can choose. So this is kind of the comparison, and again, we'll go over the other course and internal candidates. And so you will have to have a subject from groups 1 to 5, and again, we mentioned those group subjects. You can also choose to a group 6 subject, again, visual arts or music, or you can choose to double up on group 3 or group 4. And so again, those are the options that you can choose. Again, that also depends on the recommendation that you will be getting. And so as I said, for course candidate and internal, which I will go over that later, course candidates can get a semester of TOK, and they can choose to take a study hall afterwards, or they can choose to continue to stay in TOK. That's up to them. But a semester of TOK is a must for course and internal candidates. And again, as I mentioned, the extended essay is not a requirement, along with CAS. Some of you may not be very familiar with this terminology with the extended essay and CAS, and again, we'll go over that later. But again, these are just the general general outline of what a full DP candidate means, which is one choice, and then there's also course and internal. And so again, I'll kind of explain what those are in the next few slides. As a course candidate, you're also free to choose the number of HL and SL courses. So you don't have to choose 3 HLs and 3 SLs if you want to be a course candidate. You can choose all 6 SLs, you can choose 5 SLs and 1 HL. That is really up to you. We try to limit the number of HL subjects that you enroll in. There have been inquiries in the past of students wanting to take maybe 4 HLs, and we do not allow that because the 3 HLs is very rigorous. And as we mentioned in the first few slides, the HLs are again intended to be a rigorous college level course. And because of that, having 4 HLs is going to be way too much. And again, there's a reason we believe IB has chosen 3 HLs as a maximum number. And so if you are thinking about 4 HLs, I'm sorry, but that is not an option for your child. And again, it really is an advantage because of workload. Because as you may already know, your students are very busy and you have other extracurricular activities and engagements. And so it's really good to find that balance instead of being so caught up on academics. There is something called the internal candidate, which you might not be familiar with. Internal candidate is actually more for a TCIS diploma. And so this isn't actually a student that's taking the same course in a way, or in the same classroom with the IB DP students, but that is actually named something different in the transcript. So for instance, if a student is taking IB DP economics, but chooses to become internal, on the transcript it would say economics 11 or economics 12. And so that is essentially the same kind of classroom curriculum, except it is modified for a TCIS diploma. So your child, if the student is an internal candidate for that specific subject, is still taking that course, but has a modified curriculum specifically tailored for that student, and will not be sitting for the DP exam. So if you have certain courses where you're an internal candidate, you are not considered a full DP student, and you will not be taking the diploma IBDP exam, for those specific subjects. And so that's what it means by internal. So generally, we have a mixture of students in course candidate and internal candidates, but it is also possible for a student to be all internal. But it is not necessarily for you to just take courses because it's an easier course. You need to have some formal documentation and a teacher recommendation in order for you to be enrolled as an internal candidate. So again, you can't choose to opt out of the course as an internal just because it's easier or you want to take an easier course. Okay, so again, you will be taking those internal courses for a TCIS diploma, and you are getting credit for those courses for a TCIS diploma, but you will not be getting the IB diploma for those specific courses. Okay, and I feel like I'm sorry, was there a slide on, I guess we kind of skipped that one. And then, as I mentioned, the course candidate is still taking the IB DP level courses in 6 subjects, but not the 3 HL and 3 SL combo. Okay. So I will go over the specific IBDP groups and recommendations and what that entails. But I believe all of you have gotten an email from me last semester about the DP course recommendation and the guidelines that has been recently changed. And so it's essentially a reiteration of those. But before we begin, does anyone have any questions before I begin with the IBDP group and course recommendations? I get sometimes nervous when it gets too quiet, and I don't know, because I know sometimes students think they understand and they don't tell me anything, and then I realize it. So please feel free to ask me any questions if you don't understand something.
why do you don't have the mathematics applications HL course?
That's a bit of a tricky question with the master's schedule, but the applications HL is, in terms of our school size, it's a bit harder to offer that many number of courses for the mathematics subject, and so I think it's just more of a logistical reason, and a lot of schools do require math analysis as part of the requirement for admissions at times, and so that's why I think partially we don't offer math applications HL. It's just logistically and also college university admissions wise, it wasn't as feasible for us to offer at our school size. Okay. All right, thank you. That was a good question. All right, IBDP group groups and course recommendations. As I mentioned, if you click on this link, you will see a Google Doc that has a list of the general guideline for those different course subjects, which I will kind of explain to you later. But the guideline has recently been updated, and so it would be really important for you to review that. But again, if you have any questions, you're also free to ask me regarding those guidelines. So let's start with Group 1. Group 1, as I mentioned, is generally going to be English, Language and Literature, and Korean Literature. So English, Language and Literature are two different courses, where English, Language and Literature also looks at non-literary texts, or non-literary like visual aids and things like that. And Literature just specifically looks at literature texts, or literary texts. On certain years, we do offer Mandarin, Group 1, Mandarin Language and Literature, depending on your fluency. And so that is sometimes there, and this year we are offering Mandarin Language and Literature, and so that is offered. Now, you are actually given a bilingual diploma. If you are the full diploma student and you take 2 Group 1 subjects here, you are given a bilingual diploma. That's kind of an addition. So it's very interesting. I think one of the greatest strengths about IB as a program is that it really encourages developing your mother tongue. And it doesn't just simply ask you to develop English skills, it's really about being multilingual, and they really encourage that. And so that is really shown in how they offer their courses. So Language A, again, the general rule has been that if you earn a 6 or 7 in your MYP course, that you will be recommended for an HL or an SL course. And then a 3 to 5, you will be offered or recommended an SL. But again, if there are certain cases where you will be asked to take a diagnostic test if there is no evidence or background of that language. And it's the same for Group 2 for language acquisition. And so again, the recommendations would have been given by the current teacher based on the grade 10 semester 1 grade. Group 2 is language acquisition, and again, this is really your second language that you're trying to pick up. And so we offer Spanish and Mandarin. The really important thing to remember here is that a lot of you are in the MYP, or all of you are in the MYP, but some of you have been in the MYP for a while. If you are in phase 1 and 2 of that specific course, you are going to be recommended ab initio, but if it's phase 3 or above, you are recommended for language B in that course. So the IB is very specific about what type of qualifications you have in enrolling in specific courses. Ab initio, as you see in 2 rows here, is really a course for beginners. So some students that don't have exposure to that language as much are going to be given that course, or recommended for that course. But if the student has been taking 3 or more years of that course, you will be recommended to take language B, mainly SLs. So again, depending on your phase and your grade and your progress in that course, you will be given a recommendation, or you will have been given a recommendation. This is also true with Group 1, is a diagnostic test will be given if there is no evidence of a student taking that course ever. We will need to know if you want to enroll language B or things like that. But of course, if you don't have a background in that course, ab initio is an option. Okay. Group 3, my favorite. I don't say that because I teach economics. And so we have 3 subjects that are offered in Group 3, which is business management, economics, and global politics. And as you will notice, there are three levels, so HL, SL, and then the internal level. And so those are offered in group 3. And again, depending on your NYP Humanities course and the grade, you will be recommended based on your semester 1 grade. Some of you may have a question about, well, what if I improve in semester 2, and does that change my course recommendations? That can come into consideration. If your semester 2 grade changes, that will, and you want us to look over that and ask us to review that, we will be able to look over that. And it may be adjusted, although again, we can't guarantee. That is a possibility. I know, again, Group 3 is one of those subjects where a lot of students double up, meaning that they take 2 Group 3 subjects. And so a 6 or a 7 in the NYP Humanities course will be required for a double HL. But if it's a 5, the student will be able to take an HL-SL combination. Okay. So again, Group 3 is one of those subjects where one of the first group subjects students can tend to double. And then we have Group 4, which is, this one is the natural sciences. There's also another slide with Group 4 with computer science and design technology. And so the sciences, there are 3 different subjects that we offer, again, biology, chemistry, and physics, with HL and SL, and then with the internal courses in between. And again, I know this is a group subject that a lot of people are interested in. And so if you are interested in the course, we generally try to recommend the students that took those specific courses in grade 10 to grade 11. And so I know in the way we've structured our science courses, sometimes you may have just taken 2 of the 3 natural science courses. And generally, while you are recommended to take those, if you, for instance, have chosen to take a specific career path that would require another subject that you have not taken in grade 10, then that is something that you will need to talk to your counselors as you're having those individual meetings, and we may be able to consider that. Although it will be harder for you to do HLs, but SL, that is open for discussion. And so again, just because you haven't taken that course, please don't think that it is not ever recommended or not encouraged, but again, you need to have a specific reason as to why you would be wanting to taking those courses. For a double HL requirement, I know some students may be interested in that. The double science HL, again, I would like to emphasize, it is very rigorous, and a lot of our students, again, it requires a lot of lab work, and it does require a lot of time commitment. And I know, again, a lot of you are also interested in sports and other extracurricular activities. It is going to be a challenge to try to balance those. And while it's not impossible, it does require a very specific commitment on your part. So I would like to ask that you carefully consider if you are wanting to do double science HL or natural science HL. But again, you are encouraged to pursue that, again, if it's part of your college plan. So an overall grade of 6 or a 7 in criterion A in your NYP is a must in order for you to get a double HL recommendation. And so it's very demanding, as I mentioned, along with a lot of extra lab work. And so again, please make sure that you have a very good reason as to why you must take the double HL natural sciences. Okay, does anyone have any questions before we break into the other? Okay. So this is the other half of the Group 4 subjects, and so this is computer science and also design technology. So you may not know this, but to provide you a little bit of context, computer science was offered for the first time last year, and so it's a relatively new course that we've offered here at TCIS, but we're excited to add that in Group 4. And again, I know a lot of you are already taking design technology in grade 10, and so that is kind of on a similar line offered in Group 4. If you do choose to take those courses here, there is a form that you will need to sign that kind of recognizes that some universities might not recognize those as a science course. And so again, if you consider taking this and opting out of natural sciences, it's really important to consider, again, some universities might not accept that as an actual science course. So please, again, consider that when you're enrolling. If you're taking design tech or computer technology 10 at TCIS, and you're interested in that, you will be given the corresponding recommendations in general. And so there is also a little bit of a math requirement that again is listed in the guideline document. I didn't outline it here, but it should be outlined in the Google Doc that I shared with you. And so again, the recommendations are given to you by our current design tech or computer science teachers. And then group 5, mathematics. So we have math analysis HL, math analysis SL, and math applications SL that is offered here at TCIS. We don't have an internal course, as you saw in the other previous slides, for the math analysis. The only internal course in the math subjects is the math applications. And so, again, I'm not going to dive really deep into the specifics of the math courses, but I was told that math analysis is more about, there's calculus involved in math analysis versus applications is more statistics. And again, I'll have to kind of confirm that with other teachers, but again, that's kind of what I'm generally told. It's so analysis is a bit of a more advanced math course than applications. And again, with the same, I think there is a form that you will need to sign if you choose to take applications. That again, some courses might require analysis as part of the transcript in order for you to be considered admission to that school. So again, depending on the current teacher, you will be given a math recommendation. Now I do understand the 7th grade for a math HL requirement is pretty high compared to other departments. This is not to say that you will never ever be able to take those courses. However, you need to recognize that again, math analysis HL is very rigorous and very fast-paced. Within the month or so, there is going to be an assessment where it's really a review of what the student learned in the past and what the student will need to know in order to be successful throughout the remainder of the year in math HL. If the student is not able to do well in that first assessment, that's generally an indicator that the student might struggle throughout that course. And so, again, along with the double HL, the HL science recommendations, I really ask you to be very careful and thoughtful when you are making those course choices in Group 5, especially when it comes to Math HL. But again, if you are, again, feeling very strongly about Math HL, and again, it really aligns with your college plan, you can still ask for it, but there will be a form, again, that I will share with you later, that you will need to sign, understanding that it is a very rigorous course and that you will need to put in some extra work in order to be successful in that course. Again, the IBDP, again, we are not designing this to make it exclusive. We're not trying to avoid people from joining. We want to make it as inclusive as possible, but we also don't want the student to take it without realizing how rigorous it is and how challenging it might be. And so we want to make sure that the student understands and recognizes how challenging it is before taking those specific courses. And then we have Group 6, our visual arts, and our music courses are here. And again, this is pretty specific to what the student took in grade 10 and depends on the recommendation. If the student, again, has no evidence of background in visual arts or music, they will be given a specific assignment to ensure that the student understands what the courses are about. Okay. And of course, we have theory of knowledge and Bible. So TOK, again, is a requirement for all full DP students for a year and a half. So for a year and a half, the student is taking theory of knowledge, and then the last semester in grade 12, the student is taking a spiritual formations course as a requirement. For students' course or internal, you are required to take TOK for the first semester, and the rest of the year, you are free to choose whatever path. Although generally we do encourage students to continue with TOK, and a lot of students do end up enjoying TOK as a course. And then the last semester, just like the full DP students, they will have to take spiritual formations. Okay, and of course, electives is acquired. That's not part of the DP, but again, it's you're free to also choose that. And we have the electives time on the even days, and you will see that. And so again, that is a STEAM elective that you are free to choose. Okay. So you might change your mind. You may be over the summer, after you've kind of submitted your requests, you might have a change of mind and you might want to change your courses once the school year begins. Our recommendation is that within 2 cycles, That's not technically 2 weeks, it's 16 school days. So within 2 school cycles of the academic year, you are free to change those courses. However, beyond that, it's going to become very difficult for you to change it. We strongly do not encourage you to change courses frequently because, for obvious reasons, because that is a huge disruption on your learning. While we do understand that things come up and you may have, again, unexpected things that happen in classes and might again, have changed your mind. But this is why it's so important that you are part of this conversation, that you are conversing with your child, you're doing your research, and that's also why in semester 1, we came in and your counselors came in to your learning lab to have this conversation with you, is because you want to make sure that you know everything in advance. Again, things do change and you don't know everything about your future, but it is highly, strongly recommended that you stick with those courses that you have. And again, if you do change it, that it's within 2 cycles. But after the first semester, unless there's a very, very specific reason as to why you must change it, we will not allow students to change courses after the first semester, because we don't believe that is kind of setting the student up for success in the DP. Okay. This is a statement of understanding that I talked about. So you may have a course that you want to enroll in, but you end up not getting any recommendations for, which does happen. And when those cases do happen, there is a form that we are asking you to sign. And so, for instance, if I wanted to take economics HL and I didn't get the econ HL and I was only recommended for economics SL, and again, IB is about inclusiveness and it's wanting to make sure that everyone has access to those courses, but it is also partly your responsibility to understand that there is a very rigorous course and that you will need to spend extra time. And also it does require parent signature, so parents, you will also have to sign that form sign the form as well, understanding that it is rigorous. And again, TCIS will definitely do our best in trying to support your student within our general guidelines, but beyond anything else, it will be very helpful for you to get a tutor. Again, those are some responsibility on your part to ensure that you're catching up on some of the work. And so that is the purpose of the Statement of Understanding, and that will be shared with you through the counseling office for you to sign once you have those individual meetings with counselors. The academic integrity policy, this one I also added. This is a very important policy that ensures that the student work is his or her original work. I don't know if you know this, in grade 12, when teachers submit your child's work to IB, after every single submission, there's a checkbox that asks teachers that I know that this is the student's original work. Every single upload, a teacher needs to check that. If a teacher is unable to verify and check that, we cannot submit that work. And so the academic integrity policy, I know, has been very much clearly communicated to you throughout the years in the NYP. It also applies in the DP. And while you do start fresh in the DP with any prior academic integrity violations, actually start from 0 again when you enter the DP, it's very important there are significant and serious consequences if anyone violates the academic integrity policy. And so it's not just about plagiarism, but even duplication, which means a student is submitting the work that they submitted before in the DP. That's considered an academic integrity violation. Collusion, if a student is collaborating with another student in an unfair way, that's again, of course, academic integrity violation, along with exam misconduct, which also includes using smartwatches during exams, phones, of course, those general exam misconduct. So, anyways, the document is also linked here, and so it is very strongly recommended that you read through them. And of course, this will also be presented to you, the grade 11s, at the beginning of the school year when we start the year. And so it's the grade 11 retreat. Okay. So DP, again, is a transition for all students. And it's very normal to go through some struggles initially when you enter a new program. And so I often sometimes see parents or students become very nervous when they enter a new course. And then they're struggling and they're asking like why it's happening. And sometimes that becomes a reason to panic and just become reactive and want to change courses. that the DP is a 2-year process. The first few weeks, the first month cannot define what the next 2 years will look like for you. So I would like to really strongly encourage you, again, if you can remember this presentation, when you're really struggling at the very beginning of that course, that doesn't mean that it's you, okay? That it is, again, a transition, that a lot of students kind of at times initially struggle in the DP. But again, that doesn't mean that it's like that for the whole 2 years. We are all here to support you and your child, and also to ensure that that transition is smooth again, which is why we also have this presentation, and why we also have those individual meetings with counselors to ensure that you're placed well in the DP next year. And so again, please don't think that the DP is just hard and just fear the program without starting it, but also be ready that it is going to be a challenge, and it's a new challenge, and we don't really grow without any challenges. And so it's okay to fail well. That's a kind of IB phrase or term. And so please ensure your child, encourage your child to try their best, but at the same time, it can be a normal process, okay, initially in the DP. Student ownership of learning and advocacy is very important as well. Sometimes students are very shy and or don't ask a lot of questions, or are fearful of participating in class in a really big setting. But it's really important that students are advocating for themselves and want to learn more, and kind of show that to teachers as well. It's really important because sometimes, like this, if it's very quiet and no one asks any questions, it's very easy. I'm a teacher, right? It's easy to assume that everyone understood and move on. But then when I later ask, sometimes I realize, oh, actually the student did not understand what I just said. And so again, please encourage your child to make sure that they advocate for themselves. If they don't understand, they can ask questions during O-Block, they can go during electives time. Again, please encourage them to advocate for themselves and make sure that they have really good study habits, because sometimes we do hear students spend hours on something and not being able to manage their time well, and then end up not being able to focus on another subject. And so it's really about balance. It's important for students to get some rest, to also work out, and to eat healthy. Like, those are all parts of studying and establishing good study habits. So please encourage those at home. And so again, that's very indicative of student success in the DP. Okay. So the counseling focus is happening later, so, sorry. Oh, no.
Do you want to go ahead and ask more questions?
Oh, no, oh, yes, that's actually a good idea, so thank you. Oh, sorry, so I know that was a lot, and actually I just realized that I didn't really explain what the EE is and, and things like that. The extended essay, or EE, is a 4,000 word essay that is it's sort of like the personal project in the MYP, but it's kind of a 2-year process that a student will need to choose a subject that they're taking. We recommend an HL subject that they're taking, and they do a 2-year process and write a 4,000 word essay on a topic that they're interested in. So the grade 11s are currently going through that process just now and choosing their topics. And then the TOK is Theory of Knowledge. It is a course, so extended essay is actually not a course. It is more of an essay that the student will have to independently work on. The TOK is a course, as you may have already seen. So Theory of Knowledge is essentially, I'm going to try to summarize what TOK is, which is essentially a course where we try to understand where knowledge is coming from. So how do we know what we know? So it's very philosophical, but also tries to understand a lot of different areas of knowledge and try to combine that together. So that's TOK. And then creativity, activity, and service is like NYP service as action, where you are trying to find different activities that kind of balances creative acts versus more physical activity, and then service, which is very straightforward service. And so again, those are that's kind of a general idea of what those are. I will now open up for any questions that you may have about this presentation so far. And we do have a microphone, so if you have a small voice, you can hand them out. So many no questions. And again, if you do have questions later that you would like to ask me, please feel free to email me at dpcoordinator@tcsr.fair, and I believe I have my email address there too. But yeah. Oh.
It's not about the course. I'm just
School
wondering
profile?
about information.
This class of 2024 has median GPA 4.18. It's quite high. What is the full score of GPA?
Class of 2023.
No, it's class of 2024. It's written median
Okay.
GPA
Oh, I see.
4.18.
Is it that high? Is it?
That is for 2023. Yes, 2023.
Oh, 2023.
But this
Okay.
is the profile for this year from last
So the
year.
graduates
Yeah,
from last
so
year.
I'm wondering if GPA is full score. According to this page, it's like 4 is GPA full score, but here it's the
If
average.
it's written in that form, I believe it is true. I haven't been able
It's
to.
weighted. It's weighted, yeah.
Oh, so what is full score of?
Waiting for
Yes, it's weighted. So it's total is 4, but because some subjects are weighted more, so that's why it adds more on that. So
HL weighted for 1.0s, and then the SL weighted, SL BPA statuses will be weighted for the 0.5. So the student will generally have a higher GPA in DP. I think this is why the students are having a higher GPA mean score there.
Thank you.
And at least 2/3 or 70% of our students do the full, on average, for every cohort. The current grade 11s that's a pretty big cohort, similar to the current grade 10s, and I think about 50 are doing the full BP, so it's a pretty big class.
Thank you.
Other questions?
All right, thank you. If you don't have any questions, we will move on to the second part of the presentation, which is the counseling focus. And Ms. Roya will be joining us.
Thank you. All right, so you can't talk about DP without talking about counselors. So one of the main things that we want to make sure with all students is that there's a balance between challenging themselves and being successful. And so a lot of students want to go for the double science HL. They want to make sure they have math analysis HL and they have the most rigorous approach. But that may not be a best fit for the student and the type of academics that they can actually be successful in. And so Jack and I are very intentional about having conversations, being very realistic, right? So if historically you've gotten 3s and 4s in a course, you're probably not going to rock out a 6 or 7 in DPHL, right? And so we want to make sure that we balance and temper kind of your idea of what DP will be like. Also, we always hear about students saying they want 6s and 7s, and they negate that 4 and 5 is equally as successful as a 6 or 7. And we have to keep in mind that a lot of universities want to see growth, right? And so if you're just showing perfection throughout your entire high school career, they're going to look at it kind of like a yellow flag as, well, how do they overcome failure if they've never experienced it in their high school career? There's this idea that they may get to university and there's like a crash and burn, because now they're hitting a brick wall of a higher level of rigor that they weren't prepared for, and they don't know how to handle that without a big support system like counselors, DP coordinators, parents that live in the household with them. And so we always stress with students, they come to us and they say, oh, I got a 5. I did so bad. And I'm like, so a B is bad now? And they're like, oh, I didn't think about it like that, right? Because a 7 and a 6 is an A, a 5 is a B, and then a 4, honestly, is kind of like a B minus, but a C, right? So that's still being successful. Also, we want to empower parents to have an open communication with us as counselors. You may have a little bit more insight into the student that we're not privy to. We only see a little snapshot of them when they come into our office or when we see them in the hallways engaging with their peers. And so we want to make sure that you're communicating with us what you are expecting of your student, what you want to kind of see from them. It's a 3-way communication: the student's voice, the parent's voice, and then the counselor in our insight. Also, we want to make sure we're also being very intentional about having the conversations individually with grade 10 students to ensure that they're getting into the right courses and that we don't have a lot of changes come junior year when they panic and they realize, like, oh, this course is a lot harder than I anticipated. we do kind of push our students to stick with it because there is an adjustment period. There was an adjustment period when you went from elementary to middle school, from middle school to high school, and there will be another one when you go from NYP to DP. So we have to be realistic in that approach. So is it possible to achieve balance? When we say balance, we're talking about being able to be an academic student, have your extracurricular, and then also have a personal life. Yes, it's possible, but it also requires time management. It requires organizational skills. It requires communicating with your teachers, what your needs are. And so we're here to kind of help you learn how to find that balance. That's how you go to university and become successful, right? Because you're learning it right now with training wheels on. Also, you can't be involved in everything. So we have some students that come into our office and they're talking about their extracurriculars, and they sign up for any club or organization that they can possibly think of, with no intentionality, no alignment to their future goals, and that can be problematic because the university reps can see right through that. They see that you're just signing up for things to tick off a box that you were a member of something. They want to see the depth. They want to see that you're participating and you're taking it to the next level. You're not just doing it within TCIS. You're trying to figure out how to bridge it to the community, how to bridge it to the country, how to bridge it to a global kind of status. And so we want to make sure that when we're choosing our extracurriculars, our clubs, our activities, and our sports, that it's something that we're passionate about, that it's in alignment with our goals, and that it's meaningful. And then also, making sure that you can handle the number of extracurriculars that you're signing up with your demands of your course load. So if you're doing the full DP, and you have those 3 HLs, and of those 3 HLs, you probably have a science or a math. You have to be realistic about whether or not you can do 5 clubs, or do every sport every semester. So we want you to be very mindful of what you're signing up for. It's not going to be easy. Talk to some of the juniors right now. They're going through it, right? Talk to the seniors and see how they're coping as they're exiting out of TCIS. They can give you a very realistic kind of insight into that. So with the recommendations, it's a very tedious process. All of the departments come together with their teachers. They sit and look at each individual student. They look at your performance. They look at your study habits. They see how you're doing on your summatives and your formatives. All those things come into context, right? And then they make a decision of whether or not you should be recommended for a particular course, whether or not you have the kind of prediction of being successful in that course. Now, there may be some times where there's a disconnect between what the student thinks that they're capable of and what the teacher is recommending. And there's an appeal process for that. But also there's going to be a conversation that you have with Jack and I about whether or not that teacher may have a valid recommendation in place, or do we also see something in you, some type of promise that you may be successful despite your historical kind of data. So it's a balancing act. We are your advocates. We're probably the biggest voice at the table because we know you outside of academics. We get to know you beyond what's on a piece of paper as far as a grade. And so sometimes Jack and I will go to bat for you. We'll step into the fire and tell the teacher, let's give them a chance. And when we do that, that's when you have to sign a statement of understanding. Everyone understands that this may be probationary to see if you can actually be successful within the first 2 cycles. But just know that it's just because you don't have the recommendation that you were looking for doesn't mean that's the end all be all and that there's no option for you to pursue that. Any questions about how we arrived to the recommendations? Any curiosities? I heard a chuckle. That means there's a curiosity. Okay. Also, there's still time. So we still have, like 4 months remaining in this semester. And so maybe you haven't been showing your best effort in your classes. Maybe this is the time that you have a wake-up call because you have certain courses that you want to pursue in DP, and right now your grades don't look like you may get that recommendation. So you still have time to turn it around. This is just a timeline. You have this also in your packet of kind of how things will go. You should have received, students, I'm talking to you, you should have received the invite from Ms. Bomi Kim, that's the counseling office assistant, where we scheduled appointments for you to have a meeting with either Jack if you're A through K last name, or L through Z for myself. You'll sit down with us and we'll discuss your recommendations, we'll discuss your plans. What do you think you want to study in university? What region are you going after? Because all of that will define what kind of academic profile you need to be kind of sitting at. I can tell you, for instance, we talked about it a little earlier about mathematics, so that's a hot topic. If you're pursuing university in Canada, for a majority of their programs, they do not accept math applications SL. So we will probably push for you to be in math analysis SL, or HL if you're capable. So there are some caveats that we're privy to as college counselors that kind of helps you guide, your decision-making process. So this is where I kind of talked about this, the post-TCIS plan. So that's a big piece of our conversation when you come in with the college counselor. We want to know what country you're navigating to. I would say 90% of our students trend to the U.S. And then there's certain requirements coming from DP depending on what region you're going into. So like for Europe, Canada, Australia, Hong Kong, and Singapore, the full DP is typically required, and then there's also special caveats about math and sciences for some programs. If you're looking at UK for medical school, full DP, and you need to have double sciences. Okay? And then USA, DP is becoming a bigger thing for the US. It used to be all about American curriculum and AP style learning, but now they're realizing that IBDP and AP kind of run simultaneously as far as the type of rigor that's provided. And then also looking at a lot of the universities, you can get college credit for HL. So parents, if you're trying to save a little money, because it's not cheap to go to university in the US, I'm speaking from experience here, then you need to make sure that you're having your students choose those HL courses that could potentially speak to college credit. Full DP is recommended because we also want to make sure that they're having the highest rigor available at our campus. What you have in front of you as far as a school profile is what we give to universities. So they know exactly what we offer. And so if a student is not matching where they think they should as far as the rigor that they pursued in high school, that becomes problematic because you're no longer as competitive when you're applying to university. And of course, we're going to have you do research. So students will be logging into Maya Learning. That's our kind of #1 spot for you to start your research process. But you also want to look at the individual universities. So if there's already some university names that have been floating around in the household, start looking at the admissions requirements, and they have specific requirements for IBDP. I hand it over to my other half.
Thanks, other half. All right, so here we have, if you click on the link, this is the DP registration or university requirements planning sheet. So since you don't have access, well, they do have access to My Learning already. Right?
And then do you have access to that planning sheet?
Yes.
I work with them.
Yes, exactly. So you would have seen. Can we go inside it? Up. So you'll be able to see that there's a sheet here where you can put all your reasoning and the possible majors, the GPA requirements. So anything that you can research on a university that we think is vital information for you to know, it's all here. So you just need to fill in the fields and then add your additional notes. Bring this to your counselor so that we can discuss it further, correct? So we have like university or college that you might be interested in attending, possible majors, and then we're also going to populate the fields for complementary courses to your degree program. So if you have a major program in mind, it would be good to bring that also to the table when you have your meetings with your counselors so that we can also advise you properly as to how you can showcase your choices, academic choices to the universities. And we also have this, so this is the template. That's it. How do we So my learning is fantastic. Not a lot of students would like to say so, but we believe that it is very helpful. It is our platform for college application organization and application management. It's also our platform to submit documents from our school to universities directly, because it does have integration with common application and other application systems for higher education. And yeah, that's it. We also have, and please take advantage of university visits and university fairs. So we have this all throughout the year. We're gonna start implementing a mandatory participation for grades 11 and 12 so that they get used to speaking to college and university reps, and also to learn how to advocate for themselves, especially to let the universities that they're interested in know that they're interested in them. Correspondence is very important. One of the most valuable things that you can get out of going to college visits and interacting with those reps that come all the way to Daejeon is to present demonstrated interest. I know it's also a hot topic, that it's not, it doesn't help, but to be honest, it's research. It's one data point that we want our students to also have an advantage for. And learning about different kinds of schools, that's already a plus. And getting a better understanding of what you want in a university is definitely something that we advocate for, because we believe in best fit. So make sure to talk to university reps and take advantage of these great opportunities. So just a plug, we're gonna have Career Day, and we have educational partners who will come. So I hope that you take advantage of the mini fair that we'll be having in the AC for that. We have 6 different educational partners that will come. So please take advantage of that. Go to them. Don't be shy, because they're not gonna bite. They're definitely here for you. That's why they're here. And now we're open the floor for some questions. Thank you so much.
Please don't think we're trying to force you to ask questions. If you don't have any, of course, you don't have to. But again, we want to provide you as many opportunities as possible, because I know it's not easy for you to come during the weekday at this time. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them.
Any question?
Thank you.
질문 없으세요? 질문 있으세요? 질문 시간은 저희가 통역도 제공되니까요. 혹시 궁금한 거 있으시면 질문해 주시면 저희가 질문에 답변하도록 하겠습니다. I think they're really anxious to.
Thank you. I know it's
ready to get their.
I understand. My bedtime is 9 p.m. So, and so thank you for joining us. I wish you a very happy Lunar New Year, and we will also be passing out our recommendations.